Every spring, Southern California transforms into a completely different landscape. Streets fill with purple, pink, yellow, and white blooms. Parks become covered with color. Trees that looked ordinary just a few months earlier suddenly become the center of attention. But have you ever stopped and wondered, why do trees flower? Why do some trees bloom for only a few weeks each year? And how did Southern California become home to so many incredible flowering trees from around the world? Today, we're exploring the science, history, and stories behind some of the most iconic flowering trees in Southern California. The flowers we see on trees are not just decorations. They are actually part of the tree's reproductive system. Flowering trees belong to a group of plants called angiosperms, which means their seeds develop inside a protective structure, usually a fruit. Flowers help trees reproduce by attracting pollinators and transferring pollen from one flower to another. Some trees rely on animals such as bees, butterflies, birds, and other insects. Others rely on the wind. Wind-pollinated trees usually produce large amounts of lightweight pollen that can travel through the air, while animal-pollinated trees often use color, scent, and nectar to attract visitors. In many ways, flowers are a tree's advertisement. They are saying, "Come visit me, help me reproduce." And trees have developed some incredible strategies to make that happen. Bright colors attract certain pollinators. Strong scents help insects locate flowers. Specific flower shapes are designed for certain animals. For example, tubular flowers are often attractive to hummingbirds because their long beaks can reach the nectar inside. Every flower is the result of millions of years of evolution. Southern California is unique because of its Mediterranean climate. This means we have mild, wetter winters, hot, dry summers, a long growing season, and seasonal drought conditions. Only a few regions around the world have this type of climate, including parts of Chile, South Africa, Australia, and the Mediterranean basin. Because these regions share similar environmental conditions, many plants from around the world can adapt well here. This is one reason Southern California has such a diverse urban forest. When cities began growing in the late 1800s and early 1900s, trees became an important part of community design. People wanted trees that provided shade, beauty, cooler neighborhoods, and a connection to nature. As a result, many species from South America, Asia, Australia, and other regions were introduced into Southern California landscapes. Some became so common that they are now symbols of the region. Few trees represent Southern California quite like the jacaranda. Originally from South America, the jacaranda is famous for its incredible purple-blue flowers that appear in spring. For a few weeks each year, entire neighborhoods can transform as these trees cover the landscape with color. Jacarandas have delicate, fern-like leaves called bipinnately compound leaves, which gives the canopy a soft, almost tropical appearance. After flowering, they produce woody seed pods that contain many small seeds designed for wind dispersal. From an arborist perspective, jacarandas are beautiful trees, but they also need proper management. Because they can grow quickly and develop large lateral branches, young trees benefit from structural pruning that helps establish strong branch attachments and better long-term form. Like many trees, the best time to solve structural problems is when the tree is young, not decades later when branches become large and difficult to manage. Another popular flowering tree throughout Southern California is the crepe myrtle. Originally from Asia, crepe myrtles are loved for their colorful flowers, attractive bark, and ability to bloom during the heat of summer. While many trees slow down during the hottest months, crepe myrtles can put on an impressive flowering display. They are also popular because they come in many sizes, making them useful for different landscape situations. However, one of the biggest mistakes people make with crepe myrtles is excessive pruning. Severe heading cuts, sometimes called topping, can create weak regrowth and damage the natural form of the tree. Good pruning should work with the biology of the tree, not fight against it. Not every beautiful flowering tree in Southern California comes from somewhere else. The California redbud is a native tree that naturally grows in many parts of California. Unlike many trees that flower from new growth, redbuds produce clusters of bright pink to magenta flowers directly along their branches before the leaves fully emerge. This creates a stunning display in early spring. Because it evolved in California ecosystems, the redbud also provides important habitat and resources for local wildlife. It is a great example of how native trees can provide beauty while also supporting local biodiversity. Magnolias are some of the most fascinating flowering trees because they represent one of the more ancient lineages of flowering plants. Their large, beautiful flowers have existed for millions of years. Unlike many modern flowers that evolved alongside bees, many magnolias retain characteristics associated with beetle pollination. Their thick, sturdy flowers can withstand visits from beetles that crawl across the flower while feeding and transferring pollen. When you look at a magnolia flower, you are seeing a design shaped by an incredibly long evolutionary history. The Tipu tree is another popular flowering tree found throughout Southern California. Originally from South America, Tipu trees are known for their fast growth, shade-producing canopies, and yellow-orange flowers. Their rapid growth makes them excellent shade trees, but it also means they need adequate space. Alright, it's time for some call-in questions. Caller 1.
Hi, my flowering tree used to bloom beautifully, but now it barely produces flowers. What happened?
There are several possible reasons. The tree may not be getting enough sunlight. It could be experiencing stress from drought. Or it may have been pruned at the wrong time and lost its flower buds. Too much nitrogen fertilizer can also encourage leafy growth instead of flowers. The first step is understanding the species, because every flowering tree has its own blooming habits. Caller 2.
Hello, my question is, should I plant a native flowering tree, or are non-native trees okay?
Both native and introduced trees can provide value when planted in the right location. Native trees support important local wildlife relationships, but many introduced trees also provide shade, beauty, and urban benefits. The most important principle is right tree, right place. Choose a tree that matches the space, the climate, soil, water availability, and maintenance needs. Alright, it's quiz time. What is the primary purpose of flowers on flowering trees? A. To protect the tree from insects. B. To make the tree look attractive. C. To help the tree reproduce through pollination. Or D. To increase leaf growth. The answer is C. Flowers are reproductive structures that help trees produce seeds through pollination. Why does Southern California have so many flowering trees from around the world? A. All flowering trees are native to California. B. Southern California's Mediterranean climate allows many species from similar climates to thrive. C. Flowering trees cannot survive anywhere else. D. Cities only plant trees that come from South America. The answer is B. Southern California shares climate similarities with other Mediterranean regions, allowing many species to adapt successfully. Flowering trees add some of the most memorable colors to our landscape, but their blooms are only one part of the story. Every species has its own biology, history, and role in the environment.